Hey everybody, welcome to Chex Vans. We have a super exciting van build to show you today, so let's go take a look. All right, super excited. Let's take a look inside of what we did. So the first thing we did here is a fixed bed. This client had a small little couch that would fold down into somewhat of a bed, but certainly not an overnight sleeping accommodation, not very comfortable. So we went with a fixed bed here, 6-inch memory foam mattress, and a full power complex. On the outside wall here of the van, we have our Renogy 2000 watt inverter on an on-off switch. We have our Victron BMV 712, which is basically the battery monitoring system. We have an outdoor USB plug the client can use for tablets, iPhones, things like that. And we have an outdoor 110 volt plug on a GFI, as well as his AC DC fuse panel. So as the doors are open, if he's at a campground, he has access to power, he can monitor his battery, access his garage for storage. So two very important aspects of this build out for this client were AC. And as I mentioned earlier, the van came with a factory AC unit. All these vents you see as we go down the van are vents controlled by the van when the engine is running, the stock AC. That obviously wasn't going to work very well for this client. If he was to pull into a campground overnight or be out at a theme park parking lot and didn't want to have his engine running, wanted to keep the van cool. So what we did is we utilized some space behind the factory AC unit in the ceiling, and we put in a Dometic RTX 2000, highly efficient 12 volt powered AC unit that runs on his house battery bank. So now he can enjoy cool air in the van without any reliance at all on the engine running. The additional thing that was very important to this client was adequate storage. He's having to travel with a lot of gear. So storage was very critical. Initially, we were going to put a ladder on his rear door and some storage up on the roof. But given that we needed to install an aftermarket AC unit that could run on a house battery system, we eliminated that and we solved his storage issue in two ways. First, these soft storage bags, these are installed with L-Track. So we removed his entire factory headliner. We insulated the back side of the headliner front to back. We pulled off the side panels. We insulated all the side panels of the van, put everything back in place, and utilized the L-Track system to give him lots of overhead storage. In addition to that, this client was being told by 2 or 3 different places that a trailer hitch would not work on this van. However, we were able to install a trailer hitch with a tie-in to his factory wiring harness. And now what this is going to give this client the ability to do is put a small tailgate hookup with a storage bin. It will have integrated lights on it for safety. So now he'll have an external storage bin with a swing open arm that he can utilize for additional storage. He has the garage area here for a second source of storage, and then these soft overhead cabinets that he'll be able to use from inside the van to access more critical things that he needs to store and have much easier access to than having to leave the van and come outside. So really excited about how this all came together. His storage, his fixed bed platform, fully insulated van, and AC. Now we'll talk about his power system and his heater. So part of this build required a pretty hefty house battery bank. We have an S-bar heater that runs on 12 volt. We have our Dometic RTX 2000 that runs on 12 volt. We have USB plugs. We have an inverter. We have some puck lighting. This client wanted the ability to run his AC for 10 to 12 hours without reliance on solar, which we do not have, or shore power. This battery system is composed of 2 280 amp hour SOK batteries. So he has 560 amp hours of battery. We have a 30 amp Victron DC to DC charger, which will allow him to charge his battery bank while driving down the road, while commuting. We have a 30 amp shore power plug, so when he does get to a campground, he can plug in and rest assured that all his power will be adequate for what he needs. We used a 2000 watt Renogy inverter. This client didn't have a need to power very hefty devices, but certainly adequate enough with 2000 watts to run a coffee machine or any sort of small 110, 120 volt sort of components. We use the Lynx distributor as our bus bar from Victron. We love the Lynx distributor. Provides a very clean look. His entire house battery bank is sufficient now for him to be a bit off grid, run his AC for 10 to 12 hours without completely depleting his battery, and then when he needs to replenish, he can use either shore power or the DC to DC alternator charging that we've installed for him as well. All right, let's take a look inside. So here we are inside the van. Really proud of how this all came along. As I mentioned, this van showed up to us with just factory headliners and side panels. We took them all off, insulated everything, and then when we put them back, these side panels specifically on each side of the bed had to be remade, and we utilized a fabric that integrates with the color scheme of the rest of the van. We left their factory speakers alone on all the walls, so nothing changed there. We were able to provide an additional USB plug and 110 outlet on the inside of the van. As I mentioned earlier, there's another pair of these on the outside of the van. We have a vent for our Renogy inverter. On the other side of the bed, we have our puck light switch. So when the client is ready to check out for the night, they can shut their lights on and off. And we have our S-bar heater connection. So again, as the client's laying in bed, he can use this control. It acts as the thermostat, so he can set the temperature up or down, depending on how warm he likes it in the van, and have everything accessible from the backside rather than having to get up and control his heating elsewhere. So the height of the bed was also very critical. This client has a daughter who's in a wheelchair, and so it was very important for this client to be able to lift his daughter out of the wheelchair and have the bed at a height which would make it very easy to sit his daughter down and lay his daughter down comfortably. So the height of the bed was something that really had to be thought through. So the last aspect of the build was the TV. This client had a factory TV, however, it was inoperable, and he and his daughter enjoy watching movies, DVDs. So we found a TV from Ectrons that has both a DVD player and an HDMI and USB port. So this client can now access DVDs and or HDMI, and there's even an HDMI adapter that would allow him to wirelessly stream to the TV so they can lay in bed or while traveling, his daughter while in the wheelchair can be watching movies as they travel along. Really happy to have been able to find a TV that was interoperable with his existing system that included not only a DVD player, but his HDMI and streaming as well.
Yes, that works! Works good! Tilt it in again.
So thank you for watching today's van tour. As I mentioned, this van meant a lot to us just based on how it's going to be used for this client. If you're in the Northern Virginia area, please visit our website below. We have a bunch of exciting builds coming up, so stay tuned and please subscribe.